Welcome back to Wrestling Brain. I'm Tutor Scenes, Josh Custodio here with three of my favorites to break down all of All Elite Wrestling's biggest show ever, All In, this Sunday from Wembley Stadium in London. And gentlemen, I'm very excited, but I wanted to talk to three people as we break down the card, do the predictions. I didn't want to go in alone. Of course, you know the Zoobs. The other half of the Sword and Shield is here. Zoobs, what's the hat you're wearing today?
Just a regular old black hat with a logo of a place I used to work but no longer do. So
I like it. I like it.
Free swag, a place that fired me. So pretty sick.
A good place to still rep, though. You know, no hard feelings, sort of. Hey,
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm doing great. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And of course, the host of Monday Night Program is here. Andrew Cieslak. Torque, how do we find you tonight, dude?
Battling COVID, but bravely. And I think we're on the end of the journey here. So we're getting close. I feel it.
Thank you for being so brave. I'm glad you're getting better. Soups, did you do a test too?
Yeah, my wife had COVID all of last week, so
right.
I have a fresh negative test in front of me here. Can't really
Congrats. Love to hear that.
Did you have to flex on Slack like that? I mean, goodness. Wow.
Guys, geez, the way we get it, it's more like COVID 23. You know, it hasn't been.
Sheesh. How many COVIDs can we possibly go through?
The chemistry's already on fire combining the two shows. And now, of course, we get to a familiar name around here. He's the mod of the channel, Matty Mac. Thanks for jumping in on late notice here, Mac. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
How are you feeling?
Feeling well. I'm at the office, burning the midnight oil.
Sounds like I'm in a better place than almost everybody here. I'm not at work. I'm not sick. I'm just wearing Terry Funk colors because, of course, rest in peace to the big man himself. Matty Mac, I'm going to start with you on a 1 to 7 scale. Give me your anticipation and hype level going into, it's currently Thursday. We've exited Dynamite. There's still a Rampage and Collision to go, but frankly, they both look pretty soft. Where are you heading into All In relative to other AEW pay-per-views?
I'm a 7. I'm usually a 7 going into these things. Last night really solidified it for me with the Jericho and Ospreay promo. And I even thought that the Little Bucks and FTR sit down added a little bit too. Them being their bosses and the whole legacy conversation really got me thinking about, the Bucks and FTR getting the extra little push of legacy. And that was a carrot to me. So yeah, I'm up to a 7.
How about you, Slack? Compared to other AEW pay-per-views, is this one near the top of the heap? Full 7? What are we talking here?
Well, it's a 7 for a multitude of reasons. I think it's a 7 because of the spectacle. I want to see what this looks like. I think that's really exciting. It's a 7 for spite reasons. I'm here to spite the British and their complaining ways. I think that's important. But it's also just, I think it's a really fun card. I think it's, I'm excited to see what happens. And when I was going through my prep work and just looking at all the matches, I'm like, not only do these matches seem like they should all be pretty good, but like the branching of where things go based on what happens there's like so many possibilities. I'm pretty excited about all of that. So 7 for me.
How about you, Zoobs? I know you and I may have been a little softer on Dynamite than some lately. Is that led into you being less excited for Sunday, or is this about par for the course, big AEW pay-per-view weekend for you?
Being softer by being harder on it. Listen, this event in isolation is a 7 for me. There's no question. Complaints about Dynamite aside, you remember, not to be self-referential, but immediately following WrestleMania, you and I did a reaction podcast, and there was sort of some talk about like what I really thought AEW needed to do was to have a spectacle that was have something that was like easy to point to as like, this is A1 giant stadium, giant set. As Slack mentioned, a huge part of the interest is in the size and the spectacle. What's it going to look like? How's it going to feel? This was exactly what I was asking them to do, and they're doing it. And yeah, for that reason, it's sort of maybe the most can't miss event they've done. Literally since maybe Arthur Ashe, I'm thinking is the most. Last time I was like, wow, I physically cannot miss this.
Have to sit down, have to be watching the minute it starts.
Maybe I'm missing something in between here and there, but like that was sort of the last time that I felt like this was like you had to see every single piece of it. So for that reason, it's an easy 7 for me.
Love it. I thought Slack grazed on something interesting there. I think we're probably going to touch on it a bunch when we get throughout the body of the show, but framing All In as this giant show. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, we have to do All Out as well. And I think as we predict the card, a lot of my choices, predictions are informed by being like, okay, but what might this be going to for a quick turnaround? to another pay-per-view. So maybe with that in mind, we'll touch on 0 Hour here mostly because the Cole and MJF tag needs to be spoken about. But Zoobs, any short thoughts on the FTW title match, Jack Perry and Hook here? And maybe thoughts on Hook's reception in England?
I suppose so. This is probably the most forgettable thing and sort of a weird piece of it for me, is it has been going on for quite some time, and this is essentially a blow off to that. We know what the story might now. We talked about Jungle Boy enough times of the like. Yes, all the talking is, our least favorite parts of the show a lot of the time, but the in-ring delivers. The exact opposite is Hook, right? Who is this? He's charisma without saying or doing anything. He was on this show for like 6 months and didn't do anything, and we were like,
yeah,
eyes bunching out of our head, like, I can't wait to see this guy do something. What he hasn't had, what interests me the most, and it's obviously going to be in a tough spot, it's something that's sort of unfair sometimes, I think, that we do, and it's like, what Hook hasn't had is like an emotional blow off to a feud. That's actually what he hasn't done yet. He's done in-ring stuff, he's looked impressive, he's had celebrity stuff. He hasn't really had like a meaty emotional feud that's getting blown off. This is the closest that he has to it. So it's like there's a level you want to see it hit, but I'm also understanding, like, as you said, talking about the beginning of the pre-show, so I don't expect it to feel like a blood feud. I'm sure it will be very good. They've had a good history of like the first couple things through the curtain, get the crowd really going, and I expect that to happen here. But I'm not putting the weight of the world on this.
Slack, is the FTW title retiring at Wembley Stadium? This is the thing I actually can't figure out about the booking here. Hook? Does Hook lose at Wembley and the FTW is retired? Does Hook win and Jack Perry takes a loss this early into his new heel run? How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like could be a good spot for, I don't know, Taz to whip off the headset and maybe get involved. Is FTW rules in play? Do we know if that's the case?
I assume so. I assume this is going to be a no disqualification match.
Okay, so then there's the possibility for some shenanigans or maybe a surprise run-in of some kind. Maybe Jungle Boy wins it very dirty so that, Hook is protected a little bit. But I think getting rid of the FTW belt seems like in everyone's best interest, to be honest with you. So for that reason, I would probably pick Jungle Boy. And I don't think he should be losing to Hook, as cool as Hook is. I don't know that it now that he's lost, does it really hurt him? I don't think so.
Yeah, we're not in the middle of Hook's push right now.
No.
So I get it there. What about you, Maddie? Do you see this way that Jungle Boy could be the person who retires the FTW title? Do you think maybe that they bring it out of retirement later for Hook to get back? Who do you have winning this match?
Yeah, I've thought about this one a little bit. I mean, we haven't seen, I think it was supposed to be on Saturday where they kind of get to this match.
Mm-hmm.
But based off of what we know, I think that Hook gets his win back and retires the belt also.
Yeah, there's a lot of reason I think they're going to give like crowd pleasing results at this show. Like if you had to take a glance at it. So I think that angle on it makes a bunch of sense. We'll move on then.
Especially pre-show. I feel like that's a good way to get the crowd into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like Slack said, I think it is in everybody's best interest to retire that belt, but I also think that it should kind of have the Taz legacy attached to it with Hook retiring it.
Yeah, you can't get rid of this thing until Hook's involved in AEW. That's just my tastes. But we move on to the other match on 0 Hour. The Ring of Honor tag team titles are up for grabs. It's Aussie Open defending them against Better Than You, baby, Adam Cole and MJF, probably AEW's hottest act at this point. I'm going to start with you here, Slack.
Mm-hmm.
This is unfair to put you in the first slot here because this match informs a lot on this show, I feel like. And I think that's part of why I think viewers of the channel will know I don't watch the pre-shows ever. My attention span generally does not allow for me to take in a 3.5, 4 hour pay-per-view and an hour before. It's like a difference between me enjoying the end or not. This one is must-see, however. Who's going to win? Do you see Better Than You, baby, becoming the Ring of Honor tag team champions before they headline this card in a singles match against one another later on in the evening?
At the risk of being the only one to say this, no, I don't. I feel like Aussie Open's been kind of set up to be pretty big deal. They're beating people pretty handily. I keep thinking about this. Like I genuinely do not know what they're planning at all, but I know that they've had a long time to come up with something. And that's why I feel like it's going to be good. I don't know what it's going to be. I think they've been teasing the discord between the two. And I think they've almost run out of road with that. Like Wednesday nights ending, it's like the last time I want to see, oh, they're faking fighting and now they're gonna hug.
Right.
Like that's over now. So like I feel like they're gonna lose. Somebody's gonna fuck something up. I have a feeling it's gonna be MJF screwing up somehow, or maybe cheating and getting them in trouble. And Adam Cole getting pissed because these are important to him. So them losing can trigger Adam Cole's whatever he's about to do, and he's obviously been hinting towards in the main event. So that's my guess, but we'll see.
What say you, Zoobs? We've talked a lot about this storyline and these two on TV on the A show between you and I. We largely like what they've done together, but now that it's time to put the cherry on top and finish this nice story at your biggest show ever, what do you do in this tag match?
I generally, I think I'm running right along with Slack there. I think that lines up to me is what I sort of expect, is especially like what he said about MJF screwing up to set this up. I think that makes a ton of sense. Of like it weakens him a little bit to have a friend and to be friendly, and it would eat at him to lose a title match no matter what. And he's sort of the guy that doesn't screw up ever, and sort of like the relationship with Cole weakening him and worrying about the double clothesline, worrying about the kangaroo kick, worrying about the good guy stuff, costs him the title, and that sort of informs the rest of the night. And maybe he gets beat to the punch, right? As we said, maybe Cole turns later in the night, and it's like he learns the double lesson. He's like, I got weaker and I got played. Now it's scorched earth for me. I'm coming after the real title. I'm coming after Punk at All Out. That maybe is sort of the big picture way you want to do it. And my other thought of this has been like, if I feel like something big is happening in the main event, I don't know what them having the ROH tag team titles does for that. I think either way, that's big enough. And I think it also does, to the point again, I think it helps Aussie Open, right? If that's a win they have on their record, it helps them quite a bit. So I think something like that continues to sow the seeds, because as fun as it has been here, I like last week was sort of the like, okay, we don't have to keep doing this. We don't have to keep doing the buddy comedy. It's time to, the timing is exactly right. Let's pull the pin. So yeah. I don't expect them to win here either.
Maddie, is it 3 for 3? Are you picking Aussie Open to successfully defend the titles?
Yes, absolutely.
I agree with you 3. I just, as hilarious as it would be to put a Ring of Honor title on MJF and make him go do those pay-per-views and that television, it just seems totally off the table for me. Like, I don't have to think about it much further than that. I think the how is maybe a bit more interesting, Matt. Do you have any sense of that? Like, do you think MJF is going to try and cheat like Zoobs is Zed? Do you think it's a miscommunication? Because these guys were a winning tag team, but in the big match aren't a winning tag team. They couldn't get it done against FTR. I don't think a loss against Aussie Open, another tag team. Ultimately, they are still 2 singles guys paired together in what was a lethal lottery. Do you have a sense of how this will play out?
I honestly don't. I wish I had a better answer, but this is of great interest to me. It's going to dictate what happens at the end of the night. It's going to be nice little bookends, and I'm really interested. There's so many ways it could go. You could see MJF passing Cole his ring to use it, and Cole not using it and getting pinned fun, or something like that. Like, but again, like MJF could do it and cost them. I mean, there's so many ways for it to happen. Genuinely the most interested I've been in a pre-show match since Deeb and Rio.
Probably since Eddie and Akiyama for me. I still can't believe that was on a 0 hour.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll also just say that I think Aussie Open, it's totally on the table. They just win this in a short match by being the better tag team. Like, I just don't think this is going to be a long match one way or the other.
Right?
And they are the tag team here. They're ostensibly one of the best tag teams in the world. I do expect some sort of thing that will inform the main event here, but yeah, I would say it's a very good chance that Aussie Open retains, but I do think that makes it interesting. Can you imagine if that doesn't happen, and how all through the pay-per-view, our minds will be spinning about that they're tag champs, but now they're going to fight each other. One's going to lose, but then they have to defend those titles. There's a ton of mileage on that. Zoobs was saying there's maybe running out of road. That would give a lot of breath to it. I just don't see it. I just don't see those guys as the Ring of Honor champions. So
I also kind of see, just to add to it, like if there's some kind of disagreement, or they screw up and they're kind of at odds in that match and they're pissed off heading out, you could see like sort of sprinkling in a Renee backstage segment throughout the night leading up to the main event, where it's like, we saw them backstage, they're whatever, like just kind of like reminding us. I feel like that could be kind of a fun like through line from the beginning to end, to keep that kind of interest going. It's really fun. I've never really seen something like this before. I'm really excited to see how they've planned it out.
Yeah, I like through lines on episodes, even if it's like a stupid murder mystery. I like those old Attitude Era tropey pay-per-views where it's like, oh, this person was gonna have a match, but someone took them out and they're around here somewhere. Like, I don't mind going to backstage for that. I think it makes it like a living, breathing atmosphere. That'll be 0 Hour. I think we'll all be tuned in for one of the first 0 hours ever, which is some feat on AEW's part. And I just think it's a really smart idea. The Cole and MJF tag, and then they're in the main. It's early in the show, lots of time to rest. I just think it's a really nice call by all involved. Brings us into the main card, a trios match. And now we don't know the confirmed order yet. This is just the listed order, and I'm going to go last for the main event, but we don't know the real order. A trios match that the Hung Live Lovers, I hope that's not the name we're going with. It's Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Konosuke Takeshita. Zoobs, I know we're big fans of Kenny Omega and Jay White clashing in any sort of circumstance. Maybe that's what this is going to melt down to it all out. But let's keep it on the trios match for now. Is this an exciting match to you? And who do you think? These are teams that are pretty protected, all things told. Which way do you see it going?
It's a bit of a study on contrast because I obviously see the you want Kenny and Jay White in singles matches on your big show. I can see all that talking point. But I can also see that you have a lot of guys here that know how to work this style and that have worked at a very high level at this for a very long time. And the odds of this being bad are like 0.0, right? Like it's going to be very good. Regardless of how your feelings on the rest of it may come together, it's gonna rock. I feel like it's gonna rock, and it's gonna do. They are keenly aware. It's a very online company. It's a very online group of guys. They are keenly aware, I think, of any sort of complaints that it's not up to any sort of like. I fully expect this to be one of another series of gems from everybody involved. So it's too many good wrestlers for it to be anything but very, 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 very good.
I'll ask you flatly. The lowest guy on the kayfabe power rankings that I can tell of this 6 is Juice Robinson by quite some margin here, at least in terms of who's protected right now. I know you can make an argument for Takeshita last year being under Juice, but certainly not now. Sure. As the sort of the heavy of the Callis family. Is it as simple as Kenny Omega pins Juice Robinson? Because keep in mind, Zoobs, we thought that was what was going to happen against BCC, and Wheeler Yuta pinned the guy. So Lord knows. But on paper, you got to say that Elite's probably pinning Juice Robinson here, yeah?
Yeah, if there was like a betting line, I think that would be your favorite by a favorable margin.
Matty Mac, what do you think of this team of Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and Kota Ibushi?
I love it. These are the 2 most popular and successful tag teams that Kenny's ever been a part of. Both of that
Chuck Taylor erasure, but okay, we'll get away from it, I guess.
Okay.
I'm shouting out the men of low moral fiber, but that's I'm
of
built
course
different.
Sometimes a good douche. And to me that's really cool. You have Hangman Page, who has been missing, but he's showing up to work in London, which is great. You have Kota Ibushi, who didn't have a great showing. Honestly, like outside of Kenny, neither of these 3 guys had a good showing at Blood and Guts. Basically forgot.
It's true.
Both of them were in it. And any combination of the 6 guys in ring 2-on-2, 1-on-1, of great interest to me. So I'm looking forward to this. This is my dark horse for match of the night. Don't know how dark of a horse that is considering who it is, but I'm really excited to see Kenny and everyone else go 1-on-1 in this, especially Takeshita and Jay with Kenny.
And are you picking them to win?
No, I will pick the Callis family with the Bullet Club.
Right. Sick. On.
Due to Don Callis.
I love hearing that.
Dirty Don's been on a roll. Slack. Where are you on this one? Are you thinking the bad guys win this? They get involved. They ruin the reunion of Hangman and Kenny? Because this is the hook of the match to me. I want to see Kenny and Hangman wrestle together again. I think they are like really good at wrestling together. Really, really great at wrestling together. That's my hook to the match. Where's yours and who's winning?
Matty Mac just put a nice shot of bravery into me. I feel like I'm really, really happy to hear him say that. I wrote down the Golden Elite is going to win. And then under it, I just wrote, I'd love it if they didn't. And I was just going to say it'd be cool if they didn't win, but I think flipping what you said on its head about Juice being the pin man in this match, Kota Ibushi doesn't work here. The rest of the guys do. And I don't know what that means if Kenny's protecting Kota, if he's got to say, and obviously I assume he has a lot of say in creative, especially when it comes to these matches. He does seem to enjoy losing lately. Kota Ibushi just hasn't looked like the Kota Ibushi we remember at all. And I don't know if that's going to continue or not. I really hope it doesn't. But the Don Callis factor is huge. I think I'm going to go with the Bang Bang Gang and Takeshita.
Cool.
I'm going to go with Maddie Mack on that one then and change my vote because that's what I want to see happen. And if we're not here just to say what we want, then what's the point, right?
Agreed. We're cheering for stuff. That's the whole point of stuff.
Absolutely. And I think we all love Takeshita, and he's been muted a little bit since he's been with Callis. He's been protected. He's only coming in for beatdowns, multi-mans, hasn't had himself a singles match in quite some time when he was regularly ripping off bangers on TV, whether it was Rampage or Dynamite or what have you. And I want him to get back to that. So giving him a signature sort of moment here, if he pins Kenny, for example, or even if he pins Kota Ibushi, there's really no outcome that stinks. I mean, every outcome is good. And you saying you want to see Kenny and Hangman together again, I wouldn't hate if they had a little friction after the match either.
Sure.
There's so much good stuff that can come out of this, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So yeah, that's my pick.
We're three people in the same. I have Takeshita pinning Kenny, setting up them at All Out. And I can even see Kenny losing there, frankly. But again, we're talking about what we want to see. That's what I want to see, because I think you got all these players. You say, hey, pluck them out for a singles match. Kenny versus Takeshita. Let's go. Ready to rock. So, but I'm very excited for this one. Like you all said. Yeah, please.
The spite count. Takeshita Omega at All Out as a singles match. Yes.
Now, Slot, can you go on the record, because England is a whole country. Chicago just a city. Are you willing to go on the record and say Chicago more? Okay, yeah, heavily.
Of course. Tony doesn't do 7 pay-per-views here a year for no reason. It's important.
I'll go to bat for the English. I don't think it's that bad that you guys drink 3% beer all the time. I don't, it is what it is. Zoobs, you are everybody knows you're one of these trendsetters. You're a tastemaker in the space. And no greater example than this next match, because we've got us Sting and Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage in a coughing match, Zoobs. That's right, a coffin match here in Wembley Stadium. I thought the stage setting for this match has been really fun so far, and I'm excited to see this. I think the story here is sort of, what is Sting in Wembley going to be like, and what is this reaction for? Talk to me about your excitement level for this match in particular, and then give me a pick if you don't mind.
It's just so fun. We know we're gonna see Sting do something crazy for a guy his age to do, right? It's like
the promise.
Always fun. We're gonna have some crazy Sting. I think he deserves the flowers of the 80K stadium to see it in his life. A guy that been around for a very long time and didn't ever get like WrestleMania moments, doesn't have like as big as he was and as big as some WCW things were, like 80,000 people is a whole other thing. And at this stage of his career, where it'll be full appreciation, I think he's going to be special, honestly.
Sorry, I have to interrupt here for a second. Are you saying coming in for one WrestleMania and losing to Triple H is not a WrestleMania moment? That's spare me. That's what a nasty guy that Triple H.
And geez, Darby on you put him on Friday night and he would throw his body through a wall if he goes on TV for 5 minutes. So that's going to be hype. It's going to be big stuff. Swerve has shown the awesome mean streak, the awesome sadistic nature. It's going to be really cool. What's not to like? This is once again, this is the cool stipulation. Christian, come on, geez, you got a ton of recipes here. I know I'm just saying stuff that's on the card, but they've done a really good job on this card of matching up, I think, guys to styles and guys to a real showcase, like Darby in a casket match. That's a real showcase. That's a real big thing that's going to feel huge. I think once again, just a good job of matchmaking. And I think Sting and Darbs, we're throwing maybe Christian in the coffin. I don't know. If Swerve Strickland could go in the coffin.
Matty Mac, I'll ask you directly. Who's getting laid to rest? Who's being put in the coffin at the end of this match? Swerve Strickland in the middle. See, I don't think that's off the table, but man, I don't want that to happen for Swerve Strickland. I feel like for the fatherless
either.
everywhere, Christian Cage has to be put in.
That's
Is it-
fair.
yeah.
I do.
Is
I
it-
don't think it is Sting's first loss.
Is it just for Sting or Darby to be the one putting Christian in the coffin? It's what I've been thinking about, right? Unless he comes after your death in your family, it feels unfair that he gets to be the one who closed the coffin lid.
Split the difference here, Slack. Who do you think is going into the coffin here? Who's getting laid down?
I would say Christian. I'd say Christian goes in the coffin. He's like 40, whatever he is, and he's got a belt. It sets up.
I mean, he does
more,
it. It's amazing.
Well, he's convinced me.
Yeah,
but
you're not the only person who thinks Christian is the current TNT champion.
That's how good he is.
He's fantastic.
He's the man.
But he
He's
is not the
absolute
TNT
best.
champion, despite what people have you believe.
That's right. I think I'm torn between this, but I feel like the most likely outcome is Sting putting Christian in the coffin. Sting gets to celebrate. This would be his big stadium moment. But I also don't think we're done with AR Fox. I could see him at ringside. I could see him coming out with, and it's been a double agent thing the whole time. I don't know. That's kind of in the back of my mind, is that was like a show just to kind of throw off Darby a little bit and fuck with him. So I think AR Fox getting pulled from the event had people saying like, well, they were just getting started, and him and Swerve were like, I really enjoyed that. It's like, this is not about AR Fox. Like, let's be real here. Not everybody gets to have a match in this environment, but I don't think AR Fox is like, he's going to be there in some form, and I think he'll show up and have an impact on the outcome.
Is AR Fox going to be with Darby going forward, Matty Mac? That was kind of the sense I got exiting last night's TV. Do you think Slack's right that we could see him appear here?
I think he'll absolutely show up. I don't know whose side he's going to be on.
Right.
If he got kicked out of Swerve's group, yeah, he was on probationary period and he got cut. He wasn't good enough. That's how it works. If
That's
he
what
shows up with
Slack's
Darby,
on here at the channel.
yeah,
That's right. That's right.
if he shows up with Darby, I think that's fine. You can switch allegiances whenever you want. It's wrestling. Who cares? And they've known each other for a long time. And I think it'd be pretty easy for AR Fox to be like, again, like not an important guy in this story as of yet or at all. But I could see him going back with Darby being like, yeah, you were right. This guy's a snake, blah, blah, blah. But the double agent thing is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially the sort of the way that Swerve described it, where he was like, you always disappoint me and let me down. This is an opportunity in a big spot,
Right.
to impress him.
Almost like get one back. He's hang on, no, come on, like groveling in a way. Yeah. That's kind of interesting. I hadn't really thought about that, but it does sort of keep with the Swerve Strickland mafioso vibe that he's trying to give off. There definitely seen The Sopranos and Godfather like that. So that's interesting insight, I think, Zoobs. I'm really excited for this coughing match for some reason. I don't know why. I think I like the participants. I like what they're all doing. I think it's sort of opening and shut. I think it's gonna be really crowd pleasing. I think Sting and Darby know how to get these people out of their seats. I'm just really fired up for this one.
This is my sleeper match of the night for sure.
Yeah, this would be mine as well. But who knows what sleeper is? I agree with Matty Mac. It's tough to, but yeah, if such a thing exists, yeah, this would be it for me too. Unless this next one counts, because the real World Championship is on the line in one of the greatest feuds of all time. Now, we got to be honest. We got to lay it all out there. Punk Joe 4. It didn't do service to the feud. We probably could have saved that for something better. I got home from camp. I was like, oh my goodness, Punk Joe 4. So excited. That said, if that's the half step towards the 1.5 rants that this match is going to be, if they were saving the very best that they're going to let CM Punk and Samoa Joe do in AEW for 80,000 people. I mean, I wonder what the biggest the biggest audience that Punk and Joe performed for in their singles feud. I'm going to guess it was in the 2000s. I'm going to guess, again, if somebody's watching this, please correct me. There's a pure guess. I'm going to guess one of those did probably mid 2000s, 2300. They're doing 80,000 people this Sunday. It's a great capstone to one of the best feuds that's ever happened in wrestling. Slack, we'll go to Chicago Zone for Chicago Zone here. How excited are you for this one? Joe and Punk in this situation, and give us a winner.
I think Punk's going to win. I think there's more to tell about the title. And apparently the title's on the line. The real world title's at stake.
Correct. Yes.
So, I mean, I think Punk wins. I feel like this is the match on the card for me that I'm just like, I don't know what to expect, and I'm not all that into it going in, which sucks. It's weird to say because I love these two guys, obviously, and I think they're capable of magic. We've seen it. So I want them to do it the way that they're capable of. And like you said, the collision semifinal match from the Owen tournament was just not necessarily what you'd come to expect. I know Joe gave him a lot of gruff for winning via roll up, so saying that didn't really count. I don't know, man. I feel like this just is there as much as it can be, and I wanted it to be more, and I feel like it's sort of getting lost in the rest of the company's sort of momentum with Cole and MJF, with the Golden Elite and Don Callis's faction. So I'm like wait and see on this one, I guess, if that makes sense. And I feel like I wish I wasn't saying that, but that's where I'm at. I think Punk wins though.
Matty Mac, let's stay on that enthusiasm button for a minute, because I largely agree with what Slack just said there, that there's benefits to Punk feuding with a bunch of people at once, but then when it times to funnel it into one thing to feel very intense, maybe there's a cost accrued to that, and we might be seeing that here. Where do you feel for anticipation-wise for this match, and do give us a winner at the end?
Yeah, I think this match is probably third on my list of what I want to see CM Punk do right now, maybe even fourth or fifth behind Hangman, Kenny, MJF, and even Adam Cole. That all being said, and I hate to say Adam Cole over Samoa Joe, but yeah, kind of echoing what Slack said, the roll up and their last match, a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I have no doubt that they're going to show up for this one, and I think CM Punk wins. Where that takes us afterwards, I'm not sure yet, because I think a lot of that will be dictated by the main. And I think that CM Punk definitely has a way better. I thought Joe was quite good in the last one. To be fair, I think Joe is always a mean big rock of
the match was like all Joe.
Yeah. And I think there is going to be
offense.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of roll up spots teasing. I think ultimately Punk does win with not a roll up.
Zoobs, get these guys. They're bringing me down in the dumps here. This is still an all-time great feud. CM Punk on one of the biggest pay-per-views of all time. I'm going to ask you a tricky question here, though. Is the winner of this match facing the winner of the main event next?
I think the winner of this match is facing the loser of the main event.
Oh, I love the Zoobs. The Zoobs is twice as smart as everybody. That's the thing.
I think no matter what way the main event goes, the loser has sour grapes, especially if MJF is turned on. And he is sort of able to be like, oh, it's okay. This isn't even the real championship is with Punk. That's who I was supposed to face. I was supposed to face Punk. I came out that night and he stole that moment from me. And now he stole the belt away from the company and I'm taking it back. This is your super babyface MJF, ready to fucking go. Scorned and has the decision to make: double down on evil or double down on good. That's what I think. And to set you back on the excitement train, CM Punk and Samoa Joe are blowing it off at the biggest pay-per-view in the world in front of 80,000 people. Let the house show finish out of your mind. And I'm also, this go around, the football got pulled away so many times. Mm-hmm. This go around, I'm not going to be yawning through a CM Punk program. It won't be me. It won't, not now. Too many times did it come and go, and then we thought it wasn't coming back, and then every day we had to deal with it's not coming. It can be taken away any moment. CM Punk is like life itself. The flame could be extinguished at any moment. It's about appreciating that we're here. So I'm pretty excited, man. How whatever you thought of the other one, that doesn't really matter. You have understanding that it was TV, and the other ones were huge, big things, and the build hasn't probably quite been. I think that was a great point about feuding with everyone. Sort of also means you're feuding with nobody directly. I think some more work could have been done here, but there's also been some really good stuff. The Golden Vampire, and who knows what's coming up on Saturday, right? So there's a lot to like here. I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is CM Punk, and as great as it has been to have him back, we got Kojima at the pay-per-view, right? And we've had some great episodes of Collision, but CM Punk is having a big pay-per-view match against maybe his biggest rival ever, and getting a chance to blow it off in front of a huge crowd instead of having to do it to carry Collision. It's gonna be fucking great. It's gonna be a masterpiece. We're gonna be sitting here at the end of the year, and it'll be on people's votes for what the match of the year was. Is my assumption.
I love you, Zoobs, and we are the Sword and Shield, of course. And no, I largely agree with everything you said, though. Okay, so we're saying this before Collision. So before Collision, I haven't read the spoilers. I'm shocked we just haven't gotten one big Punk Joe promo segment, because it would just ignite. Like, it would, you know, those guys can do it. I almost feel like Punk is like, no. He's like taking a vet's attitude towards. He's like, oh, Joe and I, any arena, you don't need what story is there to tell? It's all been out there. History. And it's like, I would love to see the fire from these two. And maybe we're getting that on Collision on Saturday. But I also do agree with the former, where it's like, I want maybe some more investment, but in terms of match on paper that I already have the most built-in investment for in like all of wrestling history, Samoa Joe versus CM Punk is legitimately on that list. Like, it is on that list. It is there. It is like, oh yeah, you can do it in 10, you can do it 2033, and I'm going to be licking my chops for it. So, and then I do also think you brought up Punk Kojima. I think he's going to be looking for a very similar mold of match here, is my guess, is that this is going to be your singles class. Jericho Ospreay is going to be off the wall, if Will Ospreay has anything to say about it. This is going to be your NWA adjacent, anchored, non-multi-man, boring match on the card. But of course, I will love it for that, and very, very excited for this one. I also think Punk's winning, and I think that that's the right call to open up every option available in the damn company. And also, we'll talk more about this as we digest the main event, but the idea of this Wednesday in Chicago is Punk MJF face-to-face, and they have swapped alignments, but they're in Punk's hometown, is just like an incredibly electric thing to imagine. Slack, are you going on Wednesday?
No, I am not.
Right, you have COVID-19. Why am I out?
Well, either way, I'm going to All Out, but not the Dynamite.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why this one's on here. This is me. I don't know why this one's on here, but we got the big return of Billy Gunn. He's going to be badass Billy Gunn this Sunday at All Out as he joins the Acclaim to square off against the House of Black. I am selfishly glad Brody King is on this card, because I like watching him wrestle and I want good things for him. But Zoobs, where does this one in terms of the hierarchy on the card for you? And yeah, of course, you know at this point, who are you picking?
Well, they're right there at the bottom. Is this trios championship match? Is this a title match?
Yeah,
title
House
versus
of Black's
career
putting it on the line. Yeah,
crazy that there's like the much bigger, much more exciting trios match on this card.
Yeah,
pretty tough. Yeah, I've said more than enough about Billy Gunn. The Acclaimed cooling off of has been historic. One of the great fumbles so far in the company's history. I think over the course of this year, they were like this. People were screaming at the top of their lungs. Actually, we were debating should they have done the switch in real time? Should they do the switch at a bigger show? And now it's like they're coming together to save Billy Gunn's career, I guess. The exact thing that we knew would happen with the trios titles is happening with the trio titles, right? Like, we're all Black. We're all glad these guys are on the show, but like it's not really compelling, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Sometimes for as exciting as the trios things can get, and as excited as the early pick is, these things can sort of have like a gear that they hit and stay in, which is entertaining, but on a show like this, you end up checking your watch a little bit.
Talk to me, Matty Mac. Do we want Billy Gunn to retire in Wembley?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I don't even get my pick either. I picked House Black.
Yeah, yeah, that one I almost felt went without saying. I'd be although I shouldn't say that. The Acclaim getting a giant scissor me daddy ass reaction with 80,000 people is actually totally on the table. I shouldn't say that at all. That's not without saying. But House of Black for Zoobs. Sorry, Matty. Where are you on this one?
No, I think I'm with the Zoobs there, where it's at the bottom of my list. I'd actually be a lot more into it if it was an elimination match and Billy Gunn was the only one left.
Yes.
Gave it his all, couldn't get through them. Gets through Malachi and Lil Buddy, and then has to deal with Big Bad Brody. Obviously cannot. And then gets his flowers after the match. That would be cool. I imagine we still do see him getting his flowers after the match from that crowd. That'll be a nice moment. But yeah, I think if this was an elimination match and it, had a different approach than just another trios match, that would do a lot more for me. It would still be at the bottom of the card probably.
Mm-hmm.
And I do see House of Black winning and ultimately Billy Gunn retiring.
Slack, is this more than tag team with one guy versus the trios title? Does the Acclaimed have a chance to actually pick up these belts here, do you think?
Yes, I do. I'm picking the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. I think this is Tony's way of redoing what they didn't do at All Out the first time when everyone said they should have changed mid-match and beaten Swerve and Keith Lee because the crowd was so into it. I think because you're dealing with the lovely people of England who seem to only think that wrestling happened in the 90s and nowhere else, this is a way to kind of like give them something to go ape shit for. They will go crazy for Billy Gunn being the DX guy that they seem to only compare everything to. And I think it's like almost like Tony Khan just saying, I'm going to give this crowd something to go absolutely bonkers for. It'll be a great moment for the crowd. Everybody wants to see them do the scissor thing. I just think this is like fan service 100% of the way. And I'm going with the claim to Billy Gunn.
Now, it did just occur to me, if you want the giant Billy Gunn crowd pop, I suppose if he's badass Billy Gunn, he will be doing the suck it. He'll do
probably.
I got two. So I suppose that could be the giant crowd reaction one. But I don't think that's a crazy pick at all, Slack. I think that when I started this at House of Black, when you started to lay out the ways that it could be, I could be talked in either direction. But yeah, like you guys, this is my least anticipated match on the card.
I'm also very much looking forward to seeing how they light the House of Black rules in Wembley. I think that could be very cool. One of the things I'm looking forward to the most on the card is the entrances and the lighting for everything. It'll be a bit tricky because I think it's during the day into night, but I do think that they'll do a great job because they often do.
Totally agree that the staging and scope and entrances and all of that is an enormous part of the appeal for this card. And I think that's really well said, specifically with the House of Black. It is going to be interesting to see how they manage that. I think people will remember Undertaker had a match in the middle of the day at Mania, and his entrance in the sunlight just doesn't hit the same. So yeah, be interesting to see. The first Stadium Stampede, I think, is like a all-time AEW match. And I don't mean that in terms of it's one of my favorites or one of the best AEW matches. I just mean that when people think of AEW, it's one of the matches they think of. It's a success for them in creating a, what do you call it? Like a signature stipulation match, whatever you would call that is decidedly theirs. They launched the game mode in their video game Fight Forever this week. I'm probably going to try that out tonight. But here, battling through Wembley Stadium, Orange Cassidy, Penta El Zero Mierda, Eddie Kingston, Trent Beretta, and Chuck Taylor. That is one of the best wrestling teams ever assembled. I'm telling you, that's one of the best wrestling teams ever assembled. Taking on in Stadium Stampede, the Blackpool Combat Club, John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and the returning Proud and Powerful Santana and Ortiz. Let's jump right back to Matty Mack on this one. What you were just talking about, the staging in Wembley, the entrances, this match is going to be almost the reason to have this match is the things you're describing, right? Where are your expectations for what is assuredly going to be the most off-the-wall thing on this card?
My expectations are really high. They've done two of these. They've also done the Anarchy in the Arena, which has gone really well. I don't know how many of those were live. Maybe one of the Anarchy in the Arenas.
I think both of the Anarchy in the Arenas and neither Stadium Stampede.
Right. So I imagine that there's going to be, I just don't know where they're going to do it, right? Because the other Stadium Stampedes have been in an empty stadium. This is the full stadium. That does
seem like a big difference.
And then all of the reasons that you mentioned, all the guys you mentioned are other reasons to be excited about that. I mean, just Eddie Kingston alone returning from Japan after what he had I don't think anyone was expecting him to win the G1. I think he did probably about as well as people with brains would have thought he would.
Yeah.
But he had some terrific matches. So him coming back, he's got a title. He's been recently scorned several times over by all of his close friends, once again betrayed by Santana and Ortiz. Although he did kind of betray Ortiz first. But
that's true.
He's still mad. He's still our guy. And Claudio is on the other side with those guys. And Mox, I think it's going to be tremendous. But I'm really, really curious to see how they negotiate Wembley Stadium being full of people while still having a Stadium Stampede. Obviously, it's a huge stadium, lots of places for them to go. I'm sure they'll cordon off a bunch of zones. But that's not really usually what we see as far as multiple people being in one space. Usually a guy here, two guys here, two guys here, two guys here, the odd interaction between 4 to however many people, but rarely. So I'm really interested in this match. Super excited for what comes of it. There's a lot of meat on these bones.
A lot of meat.
So this match is going to set up a huge number, I believe, a number of things You might get Proud and Powerful against Best Friends again, which was awesome. You got Eddie. I just think it's great. You guys go ahead. I'm excited.
No, I think that was great. Zoobs, I will go to you though. Eddie told Renee, your former coworker, so maybe you can give us some insight here. Eddie told Renee last night, you want me to fix it? Okay, I'm going to Wembley to fix it. Talking about his relationship with Jon Moxley and implying that damage is going to be done. If this match is those two guys battling through Wembley Stadium, does this have a chance to just be the Zoobs bait of a millennium?
Well, it has the best wrestler in the world in the match, right? Eddie Kingston has something to do finally on the card. I think he's the best wrestler on the planet. He's my favorite wrestler. So I'm obviously very happy. And listen, people think this is a bit, but when you talked about this being the best team in wrestling, literally, I don't know that a better plunger team exists, to be totally honest with you. There's other styles you could maybe prefer. I guess, like, is there, honest to God, try to put, like, who would you sub off and put on to make a better plunder around the arena team? Who've had more classics? Who know how to navigate it like this?
Harry Funk's passed away. There's no, you're gonna bring in Foley, hobbling around. Almost no one. It's you're dead on.
And of course, the mix with what we've seen is consistently the sadistic side of BCC. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, a ton of intrigue, as well as the points that were made. Like, it's usually a pre-record. Are they going to do a pre-record in front of 80,000 people, or are they going to navigate this giant arena and this giant crowd? I don't really know how they're going to do it. That's always fun, but I hope it spins off into something huge for Eddie, because, like, every arena they go to, like Forbidden Door, like, we were losing our minds getting to see Eddie Kingston. And every arena they go to, if Eddie Kingston shows up and does anything, people are losing their minds
in unimportant spots.
In just seeing him, people are going fucking nuts. And I think there's a ton of built-in heat with Claudio. There's a huge story to tell with Mox that could headline a pay-per-view. I want him to have, and if he has to go through Proud and Powerful first, there's a ton of story there as well. He's so good, and I want, for the world, I want the fall and winter to be Eddie Kingston has a singles program on the fucking show. Please, God, making me go. I'm watching New Japan. I'm watching ROH pay-per-views. Give me the meaty Eddie Kingston television thing that isn't just him adding himself to teams for plunder matches. Give me the fucking blood feuds. I want it so bad.
Slackman, take the baton from there. I think we're all on the same page that Eddie is our emotional hook to this match, and so well said by the Zoobs there. But he's got John, he's got Claudio. What is this match going to look like as they battle through the stadium?
Yeah, I'm picturing they've got, obviously you've got the stands all around. If you've seen Wembley, it's a big giant oval, and there's a huge field, and I'm sure some of that will be filled in with seats. But they can build almost like places where they're going to go and break stuff or fall through things or whatever. Like, they don't have to necessarily go up a huge long ramp and go all the way back. Like, they're going to build it into the setup, I'm sure. But yeah, I think the visuals are going to be huge for this. I also wonder if they're going to do, I guess this is more of an Anarchy in the Arena thing, but playing the music for a while would be fun. I'd like to see that come back.
I love that too.
But like everybody else, for me, this is going to be the best to ever do it, are all together to do a plunder match. We know how good they are at it, but coming out of it, like Zoobs and Maddie both said, I think I'm envisioning a big Eddie singles match, either versus Claudio at All Out next week, or maybe leading to Eddie Claudio at Grand Slam. I think that would be also pretty big, having him do that in New York. I think that's where we're going. I think the Mox Eddie thing needs to happen too. Like, that just, we've talked about this for so long, and we haven't seen them really talk to each other in the middle of the ring. Let them air it out. Give them a whole segment, 15 minutes, whatever. I would just die to see that. And I think we're looking at what I really hope is the next, like, 3 months of just Eddie Kingston finally getting all these singles feuds that he's been trying, like, that we've been wanting to see him in. This is the time to do it. It's all there in front of us. So this is super exciting. It's huge for so many reasons. He's got heat with everybody. It's going to be sick. I can't wait.
Am I hearing you say that Jon Moxley or Claudio probably pins Eddie to finish this match or submits him?
Well, Chuck's in the match.
Stop this. Don't you, you dirty dog. Chuck's gonna be laying out people. No, because I do think Claudio will probably beat Eddie Kingston to end this match, and then we do get the rocket of through Claudio and then on to Mox.
Yeah, and I think potentially Mox Orange Cassidy it all out for the international title. We've been talking about that for a while too.
Exactly.
So I think
right.
Eddie Claudio, Mox, Orange Cassidy, those kind of dovetail nicely from here going into next week. 2 instant matches on a card that everyone wants to see. Very easy. I think you can do that.
I'll go a step further. It's also only visa issues with Ray Fenix, so I suspect you could get Lucha Brothers versus Proud and Powerful at the pay-per-view too, as a spinning out of this too, which would be obviously wicked.
Yeah,
Great show.
Yep.
Which could also mean the finish is Proud and Powerful like beating down Penta in some way or another, 2v1, and it's like very clear he needs his brother. I need my brother. Remember Cody? Okay. We move on. Slack doesn't.
Never heard of him. Sorry.
Okay, I won't bore you. We move on to the AEW World Women's Championship. It's Hikaru Shida defending her title against Britt Baker, Saraya, and Toni Storm all at the same time. Not very fair, Slack, these fatal 4-way title defenses. Not very fair, but is Shida up to the task? I asked this on our Twitter feed at wrestling_brain yesterday, who people thought was going to win. And I was surprised at how unanimous people seem to be very, very confident that Shida's winning this match. I don't share in that confidence. Do you?
I do.
Good. Okay, tell me why.
I do. I feel like Shida didn't like come all this way just to lose in her first real big defense. Like it's almost like hey, you were the pandemic champion. You didn't get to do it in front of people. So this is your shot. And I think it sets up, in my mind, this match is setting up Shida against a challenger who enters after the match, whether that's Thunder Rosa coming back or potentially a debutante. If I'm doing my French correctly, I know I got some Canadians here, but like I could see maybe Mariah May showing up. She's British. I don't know if she's wrestling. I don't think she's wrestling for Stardom. The rumor is she might be signing for AEW.
Right.
Is the big reveal is potentially Mercedes Moné healthy? I don't know. I doubt it, but I'm having these visions of Shida winning and then getting a new challenger to come out from the back that will get everybody kind of talking and excited about All Out, setting something up like for the next week. So that's where my head goes. I think Britt's been talking a big game on social media. And then of course you have Saraya in her home country, which makes a lot of sense, but based on their talent in ring, I don't think Britt or Saraya can carry that belt around. And I think frankly, that would devalue the belt quite a bit. And I don't want to see it. So if we're doing what we're rooting for, please let Shida win this match. And that's what I got to say on that.
Manny Mac, where are you on this one? Are you with the crowd? Is Shida walking out successfully? This is just open and shut case. Good match.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that for me. I think exactly like Slack said, someone's going to come out afterwards and it'll really ramp up the next feud for this. I also am hoping that it devolves in the match between the outcasts that are in it. I imagine Ruby will be ringside because she's not on this card, is she? No. So I think she'll be ringside. Hopefully that devolves into them breaking up. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with Toni as the stilted starlet. I think it's been funny, and I think she's doing a hell of a job, but I don't know where that gets us to next.
Yeah, it's not clear. I agree.
So if the outcasts break up, she could continue doing that until she gets another belt, which could set up a stat feud. Who knows? Ultimately, I do think Shida wins and we do get a debut. Don't know who it is. Fingers crossed for Monet. Mariah May would be cool. And I'm hoping that the Hater injury was a work to some extent. It could be her at Wembley.
Where are you on this one, Zoobs? I was going to actually ask if you thought that there was a chance of a Hater appearance here. Of course, she would be immensely over in her home nation of England. Are you on the train here? Shida beats them all up and sends the kids home happy.
You guys have the Stardom wrestlers ready to rock in the background. God damn.
Would be awesome. You don't know Mariah May, Zoobs?
I don't know Mariah May at all. No.
I thought you'd be a huge fan, frankly.
Listen, it wouldn't take me long to get into the building, but no idea. Listen, I'm loving the Toni Storm thing. So if we're doing what we're rooting for, I would love to see Toni Storm win this match. I know that would be a weird back and forth, but she's got great heat with the British people, and she's got a great sort of top heel if it is descending from the outcast, if it's whatever it may be. I agree. I don't think Britt's in a place right now where it's makes sense to have her run with the title, and I don't think Saraya is a reliable week in, week out like you need the women's champion to be. It's sort of been a calling card of the show. I think Toni has proven she could do it. I think she's done it before, and I think if you're baking in a Mariah May then you have somebody that has been outwardly antagonistic to the British, like Tony Storm or Jamie Hayter. It works there as well. There's a lot of different places it works because she has she also has the if it's Thunder Rosa, she has beef there too. She does have all the people we're talking about it possibly being. She has beef with all of them except I guess Mercedes Moné, which would just be great because it would be great. So yeah, I now that you've planted it in my head, I do sort of expect a return or a debut, and I think that works better surprising a heel than showing up against Sheeta. So I'm gonna back Tony Storm here.
Yeah, love it. I totally understand all of your answers. I actually will be going with Saraya to win here. I just think it's a giant opportunity. They'll put it back on Sheeta a week later at All Out.
Yeah.
I don't get anything that's happening here if it's just a Sheeta win. I don't get why it's a 4-way. I don't get why we had the tournament. I don't get why, if we're just doing like Sheeta in a good match, Britt Baker being there is harmful to the entire situation. Like, it could be as easy as we just want to get women on the cards. We put 4 in one match. Like, that could be the answer, and then it is a Sheeta win. But I actually think the booking makes a lot more sense to me if it's, okay, we want to have this Saraya moment. We sort of signed her for this, even if she hasn't panned out. It is her hometown. We'll give her this big retirement moment, and the week later we take it off. They don't treasure that belt like they do the men's main. They just don't. Like, I could see it flip-flopping in a way that I don't think they would do with the men's world title, which is a shame, frankly. But I do think that's where we're at. But we'll see. 2 matches left. I'm going to throw to my brother, the Zoobs, first on this one. As we talk about, I think he's got to be one of the leading fans on earth of FTR. At or at least one point, Mr. Dax Harwood, I would say. And they're here facing off for the title of best tag team of all time, if we're to believe what's going on lately, for Legacy, against the Young Bucks. And I actually think both these teams have a totally fair crack at the discourse for tag. Whenever you ask greatest tag team of all time, people either say the Hardys, the Dudleys, or something they've never watched. It's like, oh no, the Rock and Roll Express. It's like, okay,
say the Express.
Yeah, of course, the Express. So I actually think both of these teams are already much better than the Hardys and have a very, very legitimate claim to this title. Who's going to win those hoops? In some ways, to me, this is the most staked match on the card. They didn't talk about it on the television, which I think is a shame, but they're carrying some of that brawl out energy into here. This is the closest to anything involving those parties playing off we have gotten or maybe are going to get. My anticipation is through the roof for this match. I think the participants know what they have to do here. If it's 2 separate answers, walk me through it. If it's the same answer, give one. Who would you have win here, and who is going to win here?
I think my answer is probably the Bucks both over both ways. I would love for it to be FTR, and I may be wrong, but this match is sort of the whole idea of the company, right? This is sort of the whole idea is you have built the entire company around. We're focusing on great wrestling, and we're focusing on doing it right, and we have the Bucks who are representing the respect for tag team wrestling, and you have FTR, who is the team in the other company that is like, we love and respect tag team wrestling, and we're going to eventually bring these 2 things together and have the biggest match you could possibly have in the biggest possible stakes in the biggest possible stadium. And guess what? They fucking did it.
Yeah, in a trilogy.
We're here. They've done it. They've managed to do it despite all the things that happen along the way. We got this. This is fucking special, man. You should be hyped out of your seat. I am as well. This is just cool. Sometimes I almost feel the need to underanalyze it, where it's like, just appreciate that we've arrived here somehow, some way. This is the best possible. As you said, it's a trilogy. It's a blow off. There's stakes. There's these great, huge arguments to have. I default to, in the tiebreaker scenario, the Bucks create the company, and it's sort of when it all comes down to it, they can pull that. But for the same token, they could say, we'll always have that, so FTR can have this match. I can't wait. I'm expecting a Bucks win, but that would just make me all the more happier if FTR pulls it off.
Torque Penderloin, enlighten us. Do you agree? Or is it the Bucks' match to win here?
No, I had FTR.
Tell me why.
I think why Zoobs just said. I thought he said it just a second ago. It's the Bucks always have this, like, we created this place, so no matter what happens, we're going to go down as the greatest tag team of all time. We made stuff that nobody else can take away from us. And yeah, I think FTR, and both the Young Bucks and FTR recently re-signed. So there's no danger of, like, is somebody leaving town? Is there like a loose thread there? I just feel like Yeah, I don't know. I guess like he said, also like Zoop said, I feel like not over analyzing it too much and just going in and saying like, this is going to be awesome. I just want to feel this. I think that's what it was like going into those Briscoes matches too. Like, especially once you realize the first one was like, oh, that was like a big deal. And then the second one, you're like, holy shit. And then the third one is just, you're just like, I want to bathe in this somehow. I feel like that's where we are with this. I just want to experience what this is. It's a humongous deal for professional wrestling in general. Something that when it was first mentioned, like the Bucks said on their little show, it just seemed impossible. When the Revival were shaving each other's backs for Vince McMahon's pleasure, and everyone's like, what the hell is what is this company doing to these guys? And now we're 80,000 people and they're gonna tear the place down. I mean, it is, if they can come close to what the Briscoes and FTR did, like, I think we're just the luckiest people on earth to be able to watch it. So, I have FTR winning. If they don't, I don't even care. I cannot wait to see it. It's going to be fantastic.
You guys are men on fire. I am loving this. Maddie Mac, is this your odds-on favorite for match of the night for all the reasons that Slack and Zoobs have sort of so nicely put here?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I think FTR win. I think it's a concession by the Young Bucks saying, okay, let's start fresh here as a business, essentially. That's how they got them to resign. And that's it. I think like these dudes said, I don't want to overanalyze it other than that part. I think just watching the match is going to be really, really special. Could be the best tag team match of all time. Should be the best tag team match of all time. And the crowd is going to eat it up. And ultimately, I think that FTR wins and go on a run up until, I don't know, maybe Aussie Open again. Aussie Open's beating them.
Yeah, I'd be very excited to see that again. For the viewers at home, fear not. I am a shit-eating wild man. All I do is overthink about this stuff. And so I will engage in the meta here because I actually think that Maddie Mac grazed it, but I could see this legitimately being a bit of an olive branch to a rough situation in AEW right now, where it's like, okay, we're not going to do business with Punk right now, but we don't hate everybody. We're not impossible to deal with. And this is a very real chance to send that message. Now, I don't think if the Bucks win, they're doing the opposite of sending that message either, for the record. I think it's completely on the table for the Bucks to win and would make sense in a lot of scenarios here. I do get the sense at the end of their promo segment, which I thought Matt Jackson, frankly, had a really good showing. It would go like Matt Jackson and Cash Wheeler as your two best promos there in that segment, which I mean, not what I would have guessed, certainly at this time last year. But I do think it's interesting when you talk about how Dax brought up at the end, and he didn't give a very good promo, so I think it sort of got lost a little bit, but he was like, you guys are always saying you're the legacy of this place. Who's been the legacy? Like, we are here around. Like, you're trying to say we're the legacy. And I actually think that's really interesting. I'm not talking about numerically, like appearance for appearance, but I feel like FTR has been more in the blood of AEW than the Young Bucks of late. And so this being the crux for this feud is actually super interesting to me. I don't have a strong lean on who's going to win it, which makes it all the better. But I will say that the Young Bucks do hit the Meltzer driver, the 1, 2, 3, and claim their place as the tag team of the generation, which I know I get positioned as the Young Bucks hater, but I don't think that they're like, I think that's completely fine. I think that they are well deserving of that title. They're great at wrestling.
Yeah. Well said.
Main event time, brothers.
Oh boy.
Which is exciting because everything's in play as MJF defends the Triple B, the AEW World Heavyweight title, against his best friend, his brother. He called him Maddie Mac. He called him his brother, Adam Cole, which is, we broke it down on the show last night a little bit on AEW. It's twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. And I thought these guys gave very illuminating promos last night in their respective sit down with Renee Paquette. But I think you can still choose to read that as any result is happening. Tell me the finish of this match on your book. If you're writing down your predictions, who is having their hand raised by the referee and holding the Triple B at the end of this match?
MJF.
Is that what you would do in this situation?
Yes, it is. I think that him being the face of the company with his own special belt, it still hasn't totally run its course. especially if he's going to be babyface by the end of the match, like solidly babyface. Even if he's heel, like again, we got the promos last night that you touched on, and I think even in more to those, sorry, the two promos being Adam Cole saying Max has taught me something that I lost in myself, which is a heel essentially, and then MJF talking about how Adam has become a best friend, softened him, etc., etc. Max, greatest trick the devil ever played was convince people it didn't exist, stuff like that. And I think even more so at the end, there was a promo by those dorks from the dorky faction with the guy with the Roderick Strong.
The Kingdom.
Yeah. And Roderick Strong said, we'll see which Adam Cole shows up by the end of the night or something to that effect. So obviously that's a huge lead. Could be false. Totally easy for that to be false. I will never be worked, but I do think that MJF wins.
Slack, here's a really hard question. Get your wrestling brain on.
Oh boy.
Can MJF become a decided, can Adam Cole become a decided heel in this match and have MJF win at the same time? Can those two things both occur in this match?
I think they can, because these two can do anything. I think they're very talented. So yes, they can pull off whatever you'd want them to pull off.
Because if you need MJF to win and like a beat down from heels, that can still come post match. And I think that's what I find so confusing about predicting how this match will play out. Where do you come down on that tightrope walk? Matty Max with Maxwell Jackswell. Are you chasing them to successfully defend here?
Well, I do remember things well. And based on the match they had in the Wrestling Brain Championship Wrestling Brain Barn, Adam Cole came out on top. So I have to pick Adam Cole to win. per the rules that we established.
I did make you swear to that. That's true.
You did.
I release you from the promise. Who do you in earnest pick to win this match?
I've actually talked myself into Cole winning, and I don't take this lightly, and I don't. I'm glad I don't have to put money on it. But here's where I'm at. I think if you were ever going to make Adam Cole your world champion, this is the only time you could do it, where it makes sense, and where it would legitimately people would go, okay, like I'm not pissed off that just happened. I think knowing like what we've all kind of talked about with him, his two challenges to Hangman Page, that we're just like, he has no chance of winning either of these matches. He's dressed like the Halo guy. Like, what are we doing? This is where it's like, he's got this evilness still in him. He's got this faction of Roddy and these dorks who again, there's a history with the Kingdom. Like, it's his old faction, and they're not just hanging around in the back for no reason. Something is going on. Your scenario where they come out and do a post-match beatdown after MJF wins, totally plausible. But I think I'm envisioning Adam Cole taking the belt, MJF becoming maybe that babyface that he's been building into. What I don't like, though, and I will say this, is having another faction form out of a pay-per-view that just kind of falls flat, like the Pinnacle and like the Firm, where they just kind of went away. If Adam Cole establishes this Kingdom group, where does that go? Do I really even want to see it? Like, he's had Roddy and the Kingdom like waiting in the wings this whole time. I don't know if I want to see that, but something's like bugging me that it's going to go that route. So I don't know. Like, that's where my head goes. I want to be wrong. I think MJF has a lot more story to tell as champ. I'd like for him to win, but I'll pick Adam Cole.
It does need to be said, because I haven't seen a lot of discussion about this. Adam Cole would be returning to the Kingdom, right? Like, he is one of the OG members of that faction. So we've got it split, and we get to go to the other half of the Sword and Shield here to go to the tiebreaker. Zoobs is, of course, so many balls in the air with this match in very good ways. You can buy either result for a multitude of reasons, which how you want to enter a world title match. Where does the Zoobs come down? The man of 100 likes says, who wins this match?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. They've done a great job setting this up, because I really do want to see Adam Cole win this, because I feel like, yeah, there's a lot more story to tell with MJF as the champion. If he's doing the super duper face, he doesn't need the triple B. He doesn't need to be a triple B. It can be a regular belt. It's a way to sort of get him out of that and it's like, man, if he gets turned on by MJF here and he comes out of it a super duper baby face, I don't think there's any like, oh man, he lost momentum. He won't be at the top of the show anymore. He lost momentum. Like none of that's gonna happen. We'll come back doubly. Like now, I really can't wait to see what he says and does, as he's now a fired up baby face that has a personal grudge. As if we've never seen that before. That's going to be crazy. He's figuring out what it's like to face an MJF, the guy that always has a faction in his back pocket, the guy that can make anything happen, the ultimate cheater. And like you could get him onto Punk next, because he's, again, that's the title I really want. I want Punk. He ruined my return when I made Chicago cheer for me over him. The very next night on Dynamite, he does it again, right? He makes Chicago cheer for him over Punk. I think the directions you can take MJF if he gets screwed here are so incredible. Whereas I think the direction you take him, if he, in the likely scenario, is the one who turns or survives the turn, I feel like the directions you can take are still good, but none of them to me are as juicy as like, how does he learn this lesson? Because it's such a huge lesson for that character to learn. Whereas like him surviving it as a baby face or him being the one to turn is interesting, and there's plenty of places to go with that too, because he's that good and he can deliver pretty much anything against anybody. I just think personally the more compelling stuff is in him getting burned here. So to your points, like if you're ever going to take the belt off him, I think this is a situation that is good and understandable. And when you look back at it and explain why did MJF lose this match, it's like he lost sight of the one thing that he built his entire thing around and had to learn from that moment and grow. So the excitement for me is in Cole winning. So I will be pulling for that.
Here's the two images I can't get out of my mind. And I think it's why I'm struggling to pick the winner in this match. I can see 80,000 people booing Adam Cole for a gigantic off-air reaction. The Kingdom has cheated. MJF has had his heart broken again. He's gonna be Eddie Kingston before you know it, having so many people close to him scorning his heart makes him become worse than ever. The other one, though, the other image that makes that one hard for me to contend with is that makes Adam Cole one of the worst guys on the roster, loathed. And I don't think you can do Punk against the most loathed guy in the company right now. I think Punk is the most loathed guy in the company right now, or the most beloved, whichever way you want to look at it. And I think it would be a weird start to an Adam Cole heel run to have him up against Punk, who is like drawing such a specific energy. Now, the 1 week build makes this all interesting, but I am actually going to choose to agree with Matty Mack here and say that this is a devil convincing the world that he wasn't there moment, that MJF was lying in his promo, that he is not softer, that he has not let his guard down, that he is willing to cheat. And I'm going to go to his promo 2 weeks ago when he says he's more than willing to do what it takes against anybody, including Adam Cole, because what he has learned is that he has nothing but the triple B. Everybody else has abandoned him. These are the two things that hang in the balance. But then when I go to the next step, Punk MJF immediately is easier for me to imagine. It's like Tony going, 1 week turnaround. That's a feud I can just put them in the ring together on Wednesday in Chicago, and that's immediately an all-out headliner for that Sunday. It's not that Punk Cole isn't. I just think their dynamic in terms of how you would get there would be so confused. Is there something I'm missing here, Zoobs or Slack, that you think, oh no, here's actually how that could go? Or do you think that is a bit of a stopgap?
I want to throw it to the Zoobs too, and just because he said something earlier in this recording about the loser of this match taking on Punk. So I want you to expand on that, because I think that's where this goes.
Because Punk has the real title, right? The winner of this match doesn't need to go search for the real title because they have what they believe is the real title. The loser of this match, in my case, MJF, has all the reason in the world to say, this was completely fucking stupid of me. I got distracted by this stupid thing. My focus is on the guy who last time I saw him fucked up was supposed to be the biggest moment of my life. The first time I ever got cheered in this company that wasn't in Long Island was in Chicago against Punk. That's what I'm focused on. That's what pisses me off. That's when all this shit started. It all goes back to that. That's the real title. That's what he really wants. And if he gets screwed and he is the conquering hero, and you said he doesn't have to go in, he goes in not as the most loathed. He frames Punk as the most loathed, because you said, Josh, he's sort of getting both. He turns Punk into the most loathed that we know he very well can be. and he becomes somehow, some way, MJF becomes the champion of that side of the argument. He becomes the guy that said, I'm actually re-signing in 20. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing becomes the like, because I am the face and the blood of this fucking place, and you keep almost fucking it up. Every week, you're almost fucking it up. Every week, you're this close to never being here again. I'm not going fucking anywhere. I want the real title. That's how I get MJF to Punk.
Zoob's is such a convincing speaker. I mean, they're taken. You better not start leading any evil armies. Like I would follow you off a cliff.
What you do after you come up with an idea like that is you get pissed if they don't do it, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, that's right. Slack, answer me this then. In this situation, which I love, frankly, and if that was the promo on Wednesday, that's fantastic. Who is the Adam Cole title program for All Out?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of people who probably haven't interacted with him since he became Twitch Adam Cole, the guy who plays video games and is really friendly. Chicken
Mr.
White,
Chief,
the Bang Bang Gang, the Elite, all those people have a claim to be pissed off at Adam Cole. He kicked the Young Bucks out of a tournament right before he got his concussion. Like he turned on them. He's run afoul of them for a long, long time. And so you could easily pivot to Adam Cole's faction if that's what he does end up doing against the Elite, frankly. So yeah, that's something I could see them doing really quickly.
Matty Mac, as these master orators wax their liquid gold, how's this hitting your ears? Like, are you convinced at all to the Adam Cole winning side of the equation?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that anything anyone has said has been outright bad or wrong. I think that those are both very valid cases for
you did text me
Adam
Slack
Cole
is an idiot though, which is interesting.
That was earlier.
Sorry, that was right.
It wasn't about this.
He is right though. So
the only thing that I could see is, MJF has kind of been saying, he hasn't really turned into a good guy. He's just got people cheering for his shittiness, and I still think he can continue to do that. He's our dirtbag or whatever is the chant's been. Scumbag. So yeah, both Slack and Zoobs, of course, make very compelling arguments, and they're much better orators than I. I just see MJF winning and Adam Cole doing his kingdom thing without a belt. I don't know where that goes, and it's not my problem.
Well, you three, thank you so much for making some time to do this. I think it's actually sort of beautiful that we went 2-2 split on the main event for what's going to happen. I think it says a lot about the build to this card and the breadth, the options that we see with MJF and Cole is something we don't see in wrestling enough. I think Zoobs in particular calls for things like this very often. Eddie Kingston's somebody who's able to give you a couple different angles on something. CM Punk is somebody involved in a couple things. It's nice to have this, okay, is the good guy going to win and the bad guy going to win? It's actually 2-3 stages deeper than that. So really excited for All In this Sunday. Come right back. Well, not right back here, I suppose. Head right on over to twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain the moment All In ends. Because after the biggest wrestling show of all time ends, the real biggest wrestling show of all time starts, because we will be live on the channel, taking your calls, getting your thoughts on the pay-per-view. It's an all-in review show. It's going to be in the damn middle of the day on a Sunday, so you don't have to stay up late like we normally do for these call-in pay-per-view shows. We'd love to see you back. If you want somewhere to chat about the show, head on over to patreon.com/J0SHC. You can get into a Discord for $5, the Wrestling Brain Discord. You can get my late night stream on Saturday, which is going to be a Terry Funk and now Bray Wyatt marathon. Rest in peace to both of those gentlemen. So if you are looking to relish in those guys' careers Saturday night, I will be guiding us through a playlist of their matches when Collision ends. All of that and more, patreon.com/J0SHC. Gentlemen, love and energy to all three of you. Thank you for making time. No better forward to talk about this with. Well, I suppose I'm including myself there. I was referring to my cat, Midge, who's been at my feet. No better three to talk about this with. Give us a follow on all the socials. If you enjoyed this preview show, please share it. We're trying to grow this YouTube channel. This is maybe the first big piece of content we've done here. We'll talk to you very soon. We'll see you Sunday. Love and energy.